Bill from the Lawn Care Life, and want to welcome you in. Whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recording, we're going to take a lot of questions from the audience. But just appreciate everybody being with us today. Last time I did this last Monday night, and one thing I figured out is I had it in 720, so it wasn't high def. Today we're going 1080p, so hopefully the picture's coming through loud and clear, and y'all can give me let me know that in the comments on how well it's looking. And my friend James says, "Do I like fish tacos?" Believe it or not, I had fish tacos for dinner, so it's been a good day today. So we're going to take some questions. First, I did want to say this: we are some of the people that follow me on YouTube are wanting to get into weed control and fertilization, things like that. We do have a live training thing, and I'm mentioning this because we're start Wednesday night. This coming Wednesday is our first live training meeting. So if you're interested in that, you can go to lawncarelife.com and sign up for that. It's not free, but we're going to have 8 weekly meetings plus all the courses and documents, things like that. So, but let's jump in to the questions. I know the weather. I'm in Alabama. The weather has been very nice in the 70s. So lawn care is coming out of hibernation for sure, because I've been seeing the mowing trucks out. I've been out there spraying yards. The weeds are going crazy, and the grass, at least in my area, is turning green. I know you guys up north probably think we're crazy, but yeah, it's coming. It'll get to you soon. So, all right, going to take a few questions here, and if you have a topic you want to talk about in there, I want to also say that I've got a couple of special guests lined up for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to try to continue doing this on Monday nights, hopefully, is the plan. Can't promise every Monday night, but I've got next week we are going to plan to talk about fertilizer, okay, because it's going to be right around the corner. I typically start fertilizing in April, so I'm bringing in a guest for that. The following week, I've got a special guest that I'm really excited about. I'll leave a little bit of a secret. He's a big YouTuber in another industry and a dynamic personality, and somebody that I think we're going to learn a lot from. So we're going to go a little bit interview style on those. Of course, we'll also take questions from the audience. So, all right. I've got a question here. What do you think of Northern Star skid sprayers? I've seen those, obviously, but I've never owned one, so I can't really speak to that. I mean, you know, when we talk about starting in the weed control and fertilization business, you need a skid sprayer. I mean, you don't have to have one. You know, people talk, can you start with just a push spreader and a backpack sprayer? You can. The advantage of having a sprayer, and I buy mine from Graham Spray Equipment. Y'all have seen them. They sponsor our channel and things like that. But what Graham and what having a skid sprayer will allow you to do is, one, when you use granular products, they're more expensive. So when you've got the ability to spray, you get better prices on the liquid or powder products, and then you can mix multiple products in there. So a lot of times when you use a push spreader, you got to go back and spot treat with a backpack sprayer. John says, what's the volume of spray mix that you typically use per 1,000 square feet? I mean, that can vary. A lot of people use like the green Let's Go guns, and you'll notice the tips on those come in different colors. White tip, yellow tip, green tip, blue tip, I believe. So for me right now, I've got mine set at about 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. I've had it as low as like 1.3, and I've probably sprayed up, to 3 or more. What I like about when I got it down to like 1.3, what's great about that is, yeah, you can go further in the day, cover more square footage without having to refill. What I didn't like about it was spraying a little bit too fine of a mist out of my sprayer and causing a little bit of misting problem. So I went with a little bit higher volume and then changed out the nozzle. I went from, let's see, I think I had either the green or the yellow. I can't remember which one has the smaller holes on it. But anyway, I think I went from the yellow to the green, but it could have been vice versa. Let's see. Do I like fish tacos or steak? I like fish tacos and steak actually. Coming through loud and clear. That is good to hear because, like I said, I went back and watched the replay on the other one, and it was a little bit fuzzy. I think that was just being a 720. Go through some of these questions. This is my second year cutting grass on the side. Should I continue to take bi-weekly yards or push to go weekly? I think it's a great question. You know, I talked to somebody today actually, and who had just started in the lawn care business. One of the questions I had was, "Hey, if how are you going to handle this to be able to say no? Because when you start out, your temptation is you just need to make money. And so somebody says, "Hey, can you clean my gutters? Can you pressure wash my driveway? Can you do this, that, and the other?" I told some people, I got asked to hang a picture at a lady's house. She said her husband was short and wanted to know if I could hang a picture. That she was one of my regular customers, and I did it. But I think if you've got a full schedule, you can make money. I mean, cutting grass is cutting grass. The problem with the bi-weekly is if the grass is growing aggressively like it does, if you're in the cool season areas, it's growing real fast in the spring and I guess in the fall. It slows down in the summer. For us with the warm season grasses, in the summer, it's just growing extremely fast. So the problem with going every 2 weeks is it ends up being more work for you. I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, you want to get paid for your time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with doing biweekly, but it needs to cost more than $5 more than it would be weekly, because not only do you got to have twice as many customers if they're biweekly, but it takes you longer. So I think you literally need to do a little bit of data tracking and figure out how much longer is it taking me to do the biweekly yards, and make sure you're being compensated. And I would definitely push people toward weekly because it's faster, easier, more money with less amount of customers, and kind of make it a little bit painful for them to stay biweekly by raising their prices. All right, somebody says, is it weird that I put my equipment in the pawn shop instead of a storage facility? It's cheaper than storage unit for the off season. I guess this is from Jason Elmore. I don't know if I understand if you're trying to sell it and you just say, I'm just going to sell it every off season, go buy more, or maybe you put it in there and just mark it up real high and then go buy it back in the spring. So I think you have to clarify on that. But I don't know. I think that I don't like either of those choices, to be honest with you. I don't want to put my stuff in a storage facility, and probably don't want it at the pawn shop either. So I would look for a third option. All right, I got it. I got a question here about replacing your 3/8-inch hose on a 300-foot electric hose reel. Want a high quality hose? To be honest, I don't know. Like I said, I buy all my spray tanks from Graham. They put the hose on there, but I will say I've had the 3/8-inch hose. I believe I'm not sure if the bigger hose that I was using before was a 1/2 inch and now went down to 3/8. I believe that's what it was. And I tell you, it does make a difference having the smaller hose when you're walking up a hill and it's a big yard and you got to pull that hose. It's not necessarily the hose, but the water that's in the hose, that extra weight. So I definitely like the 3/8-inch hose better. Do you deal with moles much? No, but I get asked about them a lot. And I had a neighbor that was in the pest control business. He's like, don't get involved with moles. They're hard to get rid of. I had somebody ask me about 2 weeks ago about moles, and I told him I'd do some research. That's a good reminder because I need to read up on it. But just about everybody I've ever talked to has a difficult time with moles. Obviously, there's some options out there, but usually when it comes to like moles, armadillos, whatever else is digging up your yard, the thought is, hey, if we get rid of their food source, then maybe they'll go away. Well, from a lawn care perspective, don't get too far outside of your expertise is one piece of advice. But then two, what we tell people is just, hey, listen, I don't mind treating the grubs. We got a grub control product. We're going to do that on your lawn, but there's no guarantee that your armadillo or your moles or whatever else is is going to go away. So just, and you can give them the phone number for a local critter catcher and see if they can do it. So, all right, how would you treat a section of otherwise healthy turf that has been overly saturated, and does it show signs that it's going to drop anytime soon? Sand, roll tide. Well, I tell you what, I probably wouldn't use sand. I don't know if I know as far as what's wrong with it. If you got an area, I know for a lot of our grass types, if you got an area that stays damp, I remember having this in my own yard, and I've seen it in customers' yards. You certainly risk having a fungus in that area. So that's one possibility. Sand, the problem with sand, and I know golf courses fill their divots with sand, things like that, but there's not a lot of nutrient value in the sand. So, I just, even when you're like top dressing and stuff, usually I think the landscapers will recommend like 2/3 topsoil to 1/3 sand. So, I mean, yeah, sand is good for leveling, but I'm not sure that would be the answer for drying up. It sounds to me like it's just a drainage problem, and so whether or not you need a French drain or you need to in my yard, I put one of those drainage boxes in the yard and had a pipe that runs to a drainage ditch to get water out. So, I mean, I'm not sure sand is the answer. It sounds like maybe, somebody that knows a little bit more about drainage issues. Dimitri said he's got some customers that want bi-weekly mows. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with mowing somebody's yard bi-weekly, but if you get a full schedule and you don't want to grow, you can force your bi-weeklies to weekly or drop them, and you can definitely charge them more. Like I said, the problem is you don't want to have a bi-weekly customer that's paying the same price as a weekly customer, because there's no doubt it's more work. Best way to follow up with a lawn care estimate that you didn't hear back from. Only 2 days have passed. This is a great question and something that I probably could improve on. As I'm out like getting customers, giving quotes, I'm thinking, if I had more time or better, system or whatever, I would do some things different. Like, for instance, I go give a quote to somebody, and it's a new construction area, and it just so happens somebody's moved in next door, or you can just tell there's new all these are new houses. I'm like, I probably should send all these people a postcard, a little handwritten postcard with 3 sentences on it. Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm Jason. I provide service in this area. Let me know if I can provide you with a quote, and put my phone number, business card in there, and just make it handwritten. I think that's good practice. Now, when you get somebody that wants a quote, obviously, I had this situation happen the other day. I gave about 6 quotes. I think I landed 5 of them. The one I didn't hear from, I didn't follow up at all. So that's not good practice. But I think it's okay to follow up even a day later. I mean, because after a while, if you let it go 2-3 days, I mean, each additional day that passes is probably less likely that you're going to hear from them. And most companies are probably going to be like me and just don't follow up at all because they get busy and they just don't have a good system to do that. So I think you following up even the next day shows a couple things. One, that you really care about that customer, and that you want that yard, and that you're organized and you're willing to proceed with that. So yeah, I definitely think a phone call. I mean, I would just call them or text them or email them or whatever your normal way is, but make it professional. And if they don't reply back, that's probably a good clue that they're not interested. All right. Let's see. Best thing for purple dead nettle in a Bermuda lawn. Let's see. Purple dead nettle is a lot of people confuse it, or it looks real similar to henbit. I mean, the leaf is different. It almost has a leaf that's like a spades. We've been playing a lot of cards lately, so it's almost like a henbit. It looks more like clubs, and the purple dead nettle looks like spades. So that may not be the best illustration, but they're pretty easy to tell apart if you look at them. But anything you will just about kill that. It's just a broadleaf weed. So when I'm spraying yards right now, we've got a 3-way product mixed in there. You got but any of the products I talk about, this is one of those weeds that hopefully you're going to prevent in the fall with your fall pre-emergent. But if you do get it, you can spray it with just about anything is going to kill it. Ron Henry, good to hear from you. Make sure I hadn't missed any. Hold on, I gotta make sure. I got to back up on my comments here. I'm sorry. Is Ironite effective if you've done some weed control? I'm not. Is Ironite? I'm assuming that's just puts iron in the soil. I'm not sure on that one. I'm sorry. Let's see. What's up, Jason? It's Jesus. Jesus is somebody that I got to meet recently. Came over and spent some time, and we doing some training on weed control. Appreciate you watching. Do you have any experience with a 322L Husqvarna trimmer? Looking at buying one. I'm sorry, it's going to sound crazy. I think I actually have one of those, but I get the number. My favorite that I have right now is the 525 LS, but the 322, I believe, is the other one I have. It's not as powerful as the 525, but it's sufficient. I'll say that. But I love Husqvarna trimmers. I do a lot of videos of flipping my trimmer upside down and edging, and Husqvarnas to me don't stall out when I do that. Best advice to give someone starting in the lawn landscaping business. I'm 14 years old and going to pass out 500 postcards tomorrow. Postcards is one way to get customers. It's definitely not the easiest way. You got a lot of pounding the pavement and just walking and walking and walking. So, but I mean, if you pass out 500 a day, I mean, you will get calls at some point. I would, at 14, obviously, you probably had to talk with your parents about this, but social media can be great if your family has connections. And now at 14, you're in school, so I don't necessarily know that you're looking to grow something huge. So but even at that age, if it was my child that was looking to start a lawn business at that age, I would still want to go as professional as I can. And I think, one, you're learning good business skills, and then two, it just gives the image. I mean, because if you're 14 and you do everything and it kind of looks unprofessional, then people's going to say, okay, he's young, he's unprofessional. The only reason I'm hiring him is to get a really good deal. I'm afraid that what might happen to you is people's like, well, can you cut my yard for $20? And they want a 14-year-old to do it because they think they can get it cheap. I don't want that to happen to you. And so I'm wanting you to carry yourself as professional as possible so that you can command the same prices as other people. And I think you'll gain some great business skills from doing that. How would you treat a yard that has been trenched installing irrigation? Would you install new sod, or will it grow back centipede grass in North Florida? I wouldn't. I mean, surely the place is not that wide. Where I don't know what they dug the trench with, but if it's just like a trencher that you'd normally lay pipe with, like a ditch witch or something like that, then I definitely just let it grow back. I would think over the course of summer you ought to get most of that, if not all that, recovered. All right, starting a spray company in Pennsylvania. This is from Craig. And how much is my program applicable to the northeastern U.S.? Well, we talk in the programs that I have on my website, lawncarelife.com. There's a lot of information on there as far as equipment, as far as pricing, as far as marketing your business, as far as the actual lawn care programs that we teach and give information on. It's pretty much warm season grasses. I'm looking for help in that area, so I'm wanting to bring someone in that I can give us some more information on cool season grasses, because you're not the first one that's asked me that. So sorry about that, Craig, but definitely looking to bring in some help to help deal with the cool season grasses. Tom says, remember to hit the like button. Thank you, Tom, for that. When you're out spraying yards around lunch, do you stop and pick up fast food, or you bring lunch from home? Caleb says, that's a good question. Depends on how healthy I'm eating. I'm trying to do better at bringing lunch from home and eat. I usually eat healthier when I bring something from home, and also a little bit more productive. I can just eat in my truck and I don't stop. That's one thing I love about being self-employed. I don't want an hour lunch break. When I had a regular job, I usually didn't want an hour lunch break unless I was just bored out of my mind. So it does not take me an hour to eat. It probably takes me about 7 minutes. And my son eats in about 3 minutes. So we're fast eaters, and I want to get back to work because I'm not just going to sit there for an hour. I'm not going to take a nap. I just want to get back to work. So, all right, let's see. Thinking of safety when spraying pesticides, safety masks and gloves. Of course, you're going to check the label on these things, the SDS safety data sheets and things like that. But most of the time, you're going to read the label. It's going to tell you to wear a long sleeve shirt, long pants, rubber gloves, rubber boots. And so that's kind of my normal safety attire, and use precaution and common sense. All right, trying to get new customers, door hangers or business cards in the mailbox. Well, of course, you don't want to be putting things in the mailbox. I don't like it when they put it on the outside of the mailbox. I don't like it when people throw stuff in my driveway. You can. I mean, again, I'm not saying door hangers and business cards and things like that don't work. They do work. It's just the rate of return is going to be small unless you find that neighborhood. And I like to target neighborhoods that have new construction, small houses. Small yards and hundreds of them, preferably. The more the better, and people moving in. Because if it's an established neighborhood, it's just going to be hard to go out there and put business cards out and expect to get much return. Even in a newer neighborhood, it's tough. Now, if you knock on the door, somebody mentioned this. Do you knock on doors? When I'm desperate, I do. I have before. I haven't in a while, to be honest with you. But I tell somebody, if it's in your first year and you want customers, knocking on doors absolutely works. And this is almost a perfect time. Here in Alabama, the yards that are not sprayed are obvious. They've got tons of weeds in them. So they either need to be sprayed or they need to be mowed. So whatever you're doing, mowing or spraying, there's a need there. And it's obvious who has the need. So if you're out there on a warm day on a Saturday in the spring, I can just about guarantee you there's people outside working in the yards doing stuff. So sometimes, you knock on the door. Obviously, you got to check with your city ordinances, make sure it's legal. Don't, do things that are not legal. But if it is allowed and you can do that, sometimes too, I told somebody this, when I work on a Saturday, and I don't do that all the time, but sometimes I get behind schedule and I find I'm out there working on a Saturday and the weather's nice in the spring, and you may plan to do this even if you're not behind schedule. Oftentimes you will get new customers just from being out there because people are home. They're out there seeing you, and it just so happens that they live next door and they're gone all week long, and now they see you spraying your yard and say, hey, we're thinking about getting somebody to spray our yard. Can you give us a quote? And, they already know their neighbor and things like that. So good question there. Yeah, somebody put neoprene gloves and no mask. That's what I wear. All right, Mitchell's Lawn Care. What's going on? Gordy Mitchell and dropping education, he says. You need to come be a guest on the show sometime. All right. Let's see. Great information. Do you prefer using the spray rig or the Perma Green? Now, I had a Perma Green. I've got a ground Logic, or what used to be the Ground Logic, that's now branded under Ferris, and I've got what used to be the Exmark LTS that's now branded under Z Spray, or the turf equipment LTS. So I used unless anyway, let me put it this way. I spray most of my yards with the spray rigs. Okay. The ride-on equipment I mostly use it for granular. Now, I do spray with those. If I've got big properties, I do it. If we lived in an area that was a little bit flatter, I would probably do it more. If we lived where we had cool season grasses, I'd probably do it more. With Bermuda grasses, and y'all comment on this if you think I'm crazy, but they get so eat up with weeds. And I've seen examples of this where somebody would plant rose bushes out in the middle of their yard, knockout roses with no border around them. And I will spray probably within 2 inches of that plant. And I will go back and that within 2 inches will be covered with weeds. And so there's really, you have got to have such good blanket coverage on a Bermuda lawn to keep the weeds out. And I'm not saying you can't get that with a machine, but when you're on a hill and if the wind's blowing, sometimes my concerns are if I'm on a hill, Wind's blowing. I'm using a much finer mist. And how much drift am I going to get? So I like to use the tank and just get a good coverage on the first one. It got great agitation, but I'm working toward using my ride-on equipment more often. Like this year, I picked up a football field and spraying that entire football field. I've got another property that's over 100,000 square feet, and it's nice and flat and open. And so I'm using it on those, spraying my pre and post emergents, and of course using them for my granular products. Tim says, "Hey, from Kentucky, love the Q&A from Pelham, Alabama, just south side of Birmingham. Best way to get customers when you can't drive yet?" Well, let's see. I tell you what, there might be. Let me try to take the positive side of this. If you can't drive, we talk about route density and just getting a lot of customers in one area. If I can't drive, I'm pretty much going to my neighborhood, and that fixes your route density problem. Because the problem is that people that can drive sometimes they end up driving all over the place and not making any money. And you might actually come out where you've got a great route. Now, again, what neighborhood do you live in? How close are you to a number of houses? You may, if you can't drive, what kind of social media presence can you have? Get your parents to help you out and things like that. So, but if I was in a neighborhood and I couldn't drive, I think if you market yourself as the person in the neighborhood, again, like I told the other person who was 14, still try to make a professional image and try to get as many people in your neighborhood. And I think, and I've seen this, is that anytime I've had a young person on my channel, the amount of support and encouragement that comes from the audience is usually great. So I think that people's opinion of young people is so low now that they think that they're lazy, they don't work, they play video games all day, and they're basically useless when it comes to doing any physical labor. So when they see somebody that's young and that wants to work, I think they come out of the woodworks to support you and encourage you. Now, again, they care about their yard. They're not going to let you, make a F- performance on their lawn just because they're young. But if you do a good job, I think they will support you. All right. Are you considering doing mosquito sprays? Not at the moment. I do have my own fogger. So you want to mister, I guess would be a better word for it. I'm going to be using that in my own house. I'm using a product called Proflex, I think is what it's called. But I am I've got a friend of mine in the mosquito business. We just did the filming for a mosquito course. But like I said, he was the expert on that. I was the interviewer, and we're putting that together. But mosquito spraying is great business. From what I understand, extremely profitable. And you can generate a lot of money. Let's say you do 10 applications for $60 a piece. That's $600 within a 10 application window, half the year, where you might, that same yard, you might doing weed control and fertilization, you might make less money spraying it the whole year than you would make in a short window. So it is seasonal, pros and cons to that, but definitely a great profit margins, and something that I think it's worth considering getting into. All right, prodiamine granular 007, 5020, and 1606. Which one at what time of the year? Well, I mean, I don't use any of those. I mean, there's some questions there. Like the way I understand, if you got a prodiamine that's granular and it's like a 007, or you'll see the 007 with dimension, really they're just attaching the prodiamine to something to be able to throw it out there. There's not a whole lot of nutrients going on in that situation. So, now if you got a 5020, then obviously there's some nutrients involved in that 16016. So I haven't personally seen those to know, but that's not the route I go. I would have to know a little bit more about your grass types, and somebody can chime in on the comments if they want to comment on that. They're asking a prodiamine granular 007, 5020, or 16016, which one at which time of the year. If you're, like, for instance, for us doing warm season grasses, we're not really fertilizing our grasses in the fall. So if you're going to use prodiamine in the fall, I wouldn't have any nitrogen in there. Same thing. I'm not going to put nitrogen in my mix in January when I'm putting out prodiamine. So anyway, somebody else may have some thoughts on that. Hi, hey, from Canada, from Little's Link here. Winter, fall, summer. Let's see. What's the best pre-emergent for large commercial beds and trees and plants? Liquid or granite? I've been using Snapshot with okay results. Yeah, I'm kind of switching my strategy on that a little bit, and I don't know enough to give you the results because I've just started. But I'm using a Freehand, which I think it's a granular product like Snapshot, and the reason I'm switching is not because I'm not happy with the results with that. The good thing about that, you can kind of go over the top of shrubs and things, which is great. But if they have existing weeds, you got to go in there and spray them with a weed control product. So I'm switching over to a liquid product so that I can mix it with like glyphosate or something. So I just got to make one pass. Now, you can't go over the top of the plants with that, obviously. Last week I couldn't think of the name of the product I've got, and I can't think of it again. But anyway, I'm going with a liquid, and that way I can. It's going to give me some pre-emergent activity, and also put the non-selective herbicide in there to just knock out any weeds that's already there. All right, preferred method to deal with brush cutting. I've seen, I've got like. I don't know how much brush you're talking about. I mean, maybe like a bush hog or something, but I've got some of the string trimmer line that has like the metal in the middle of it that does improve your ability to cut thick brush. I know my dad, I borrowed his before. He's got the blade, the metal blade. It goes on a steel trimmer and it works great. So, I don't know. I don't know how serious of brush you're talking about, but I like big tractors with big bush hogs on them. Let's see. I've been watching your videos. It's $35 a yard for 1,500 square feet. I'm 15. No overhead or expensive. In terms of business, I have my logo, Facebook page, and plans for the future. All right. Well, we attracting the teenage crowd today. I guess that's good. $35, a 1,500 square foot lawn is small, and I measure yards a lot. So I mean that is a tiny yard. So yeah, I mean again, I don't know what market you're in. I don't know what other people are getting. You have little expenses, but I know in my area, if I had a neighborhood that was all garden homes, they were all 1,500 square feet, and I could get 20 of them at $35. I mean, I would be in and out of a yard like that probably 20 minutes solo. I mean, if I had a crew with me, we would knock those out so fast. So I think that has potential to be extremely profitable. All right, good question here. Hey, Jason, what questions do you ask to qualify customers? Well, I tell you what, I have become more selective lately, and that's been a great thing. Lately I've narrowed my territory down. I'm trying to improve my own route density and trying to become more focused. So, I mean, one question I ask is, hey, what city, in which city do you live? And when they tell me what city they're in, obviously I know which city they're in when they tell me, I'm familiar with the city. And then even in that city, I may go to parts of the city, but not all the parts. So then I begin narrowing down to which neighborhood are you in. And I try to do it politely. I'm not trying to be ugly to anybody, but I'm only covering certain areas. And I let them know that, hey, if I don't cover your area, I'm pretty sure I can connect you with somebody who can. So, and I do that. I'm happy to do that. So, that's one question. I mean, I know some companies that have a large clientele, they focus on high-end clients. I mean, they will be upfront with them and telling them what their minimum price is. Say, our prices start at $250 a month year-round contract, or $350 or $400. I mean, so you want to talk about weeding out some people real quick. I sometimes will ask this question when you get the feeling out that somebody's just kind of wanting a one-time spray or something like that, or one-time cut. And I just ask them point blank. I mean, you can't keep them from lying to you, but you can just ask them, hey, are you looking to have somebody come out just one time, or you want it to be on a regular schedule? And if they're a one-time person, I don't know, and I don't even know anybody to give that yard to. I mean, because most times people just don't want to do a one-time situation unless it's next door to somebody they're already doing or something. So All right. Should I use Atrazine or Cimazine on my Centipede? Is one better than the other? I'm going to see if my friend James is awake. I know if he is, he can comment on this one. But we use Cimazine in the wintertime, okay, in the fall application, mixed with our fall pre-emergent, and use atrazine early in the year, like round one, and mostly round one. I take it out round two usually. Once your Bermuda starts turning green, I just take it out. So, I don't know 100% what the difference is in the Cimazine and the atrazine. So if somebody knows the answer to that one, chime in. But like I said, I use Cimazine in the fall, atrazine in early in the year. All right. Another 14-year-old says, maybe I'm reading the same 14-year-olds over and over, but 2021 will be your first year in lawn business. Is 40 weekly mowing clients an unrealistic goal? I don't think so. I think you need 40 would just about. I mean, if you're working solo and you got 40 clients, you could just about fill up your schedule with that. I mean, working 5 days a week, that's 8 yards a day. Again, I don't know the size. If you're mowing 4-acre big estate lots or whatever, then that's one thing. But if they're little garden homes, then that would be different. So, but yeah, 40, it is realistic. And I think that would be a great first year. Me and the weed control, I seem to be a little bit easier to get customers. When I was mowing, if I got 50 in a year, that was good. If me spraying, I get about 100 a year without trying a whole lot. I mean, I do try, but there's not as much competitors out there. All right. Craig says, thank me for my honest answer, not trying to sell something for revenue. I think he was the one asking about the cool season grasses. Do you keep the MSDS sheets in your truck? All right, Tim, that's a great question. I've often wondered that as well. I do have a folder with those printed off, but I'm wondering if, and if somebody knows the answer to this, I'd like to know. Like, all this stuff is accessible on our phone within no time, so is that legal to just have access to it on your phone? If somebody knows that, please leave that in the comments. Do you soil test your customers' lawns? Only if they have a problem. Okay, if you're doing your normal program, which is going to get results for me in about over 99% of the time. I mean, it's like, you do these things, we're going to control the weeds, and your lawn's going to fill in, look nice, thick, and healthy, and be great. So, I don't do it unless it's some reason it doesn't respond to that. Then you may do a soil test. Now, if the customer wants to do it, that's fine. You say, well, Jason, isn't that lazy? Shouldn't you do a soil test so you know exactly what to put on each line? Well, the problem with that is if you want to have a customized program for hundreds of customers, or even thousands, that is very difficult and going to be challenging for you to do. So if you want to, come up with 12 different bags of fertilizer on the back of your truck, one for this line, one for that line, one for this, I mean, you talk about a logistics nightmare. So no, we don't do that. But if there's a yard that's not responding well, then you get a soil test and see what's going on. All right. I'm in northern Louisiana, and we had a terrible freeze a few weeks ago. We definitely saw that on the news. My Bermuda grass is still dormant. Is there any way to tell right now if it's dead or damaged? And there's something I can put on it. Well, I'll tell you this: it's hard to kill Bermuda, though it can be killed. But sometimes what you can do is get from the top, it looks all dormant, but if you will actually get down there on your hands and knees and kind of part the grass a little bit and get down closer to the ground and see if there's some green tissue from the plant, the stem of the plant. Or also, if you get over close to like the sidewalk or the driveway, you got that heat that's coming in from the sun warming up the driveway, and it's going to warm the soil up in those areas. A lot of times it'll be, see, if you don't have green out in the yard, you might can find some green next to your sidewalk or driveway. So if you do that, again, my prediction is it's dormant, not dead, but I don't want to speak for you. But yeah, get down closer and look closer to the soil and see if there's some green tissue there. And with the warmer weather we're having, you'll know very quickly if it's dead or dormant. All right. thank you for the answer here. As far as the MSDS sheets in Texas, you have to have them on hand when spraying. It's probably is state to state on that. Is anything you can put down to help rejuvenate the Bermuda? I mean, if it's dead, it's dead. You can't rejuvenate it. But even if it has some winter damage or something, I would just encourage you to be a little bit patient with it and just give it another 2 weeks. Because, like I said, you're in northern Louisiana. I mean, I'm in the kind of Birmingham, Alabama. We're probably not too far off on the climates. Give it a couple weeks and see. But Bermuda is extremely resilient, even if it's damaged. I mean, it just comes roaring back when the summer heat comes and with fertilizer. So, the problem with putting fertilizer on it now is it's just still asleep. It's just barely waking up from wintertime. So I hate for you to go put some products on it. I would just encourage you to wait and let the warm weather take its effect. All right. Donna says, thank you for the information we put out. Glad to do it. Now, pros and cons of a skid sprayer versus a ride-on. We talked about this a little bit. Skid sprayer, a lot of times going to have a little bit better agitation. I understand there's good agitation in some of the ride-ons as well. There's a little bit for me. The reason I use the hose tank and hose a lot is mixing multiple products in there and getting it nice and agitated and just making sure I've got good coverage. Now, obviously, the advantages of the riding is that you're riding instead of walking. I mean, it's put out a beautifully even application. Okay, but I need to get like within an inch of the base of that flower bed without getting it on the shrub. And so anyway, I'm just trying to explain why I use the tank and the hose, and if I've got heels, can I get on that heel and make that turn to come back in the right area? So for me, I'm just comfortable with yards that have landscaping in them and odd shaped turns and stuff. It's just easier having that gun in my hand. But I love riding, and I want to continue to implement my ride-on equipment more. All right. Somebody says they're starting their mowing business this spring. They're nervous because they bought a used mower. I bought a lot of used mowers. There's nothing wrong with a used mower now. Obviously, I try to get one as low as hours as possible, less than 400 hours if possible. So it just depends on what your budget is and what. But lawnmowers are not overly complicated. There's not that many things that can go wrong with them. So you may have to replace some parts, but if that's what you can afford, then you get out there and start making money and upgrade later. All right. I want to see more videos on related spraying yard, how to actually using the spray rigs. All right. That's a good idea. The problem with that normally for me, and I'm working on this, is having a cameraman. Work solo, but I'm working on that and getting opportunity to be filmed more. And I can even set my camera up to film myself. And I'm trying to probably put out 4 times as many videos in 2021 as I did in 2020. I was doing 1 or 2 videos a week last year. I'm planning to do way more. I have already been doing way more this year and plan to keep up a much more aggressive pace on YouTube. All right. Appreciate that feedback. The A spray comes with a 50. I'm thinking you meant Z spray. The A and the Z are right beside each other on the keyboard. 50 foot of hose. Is that what you meant, Gardener Earth Guy? But yeah, some of your ride-ons have agitation, and they have a reel and everything. So that's great. That is what's great. What I've been told, like if you're riding and you get an area where it's tight, you can always pull the hose on those and use them. The ones I have don't have a hose, but that's a great point for those that have that and want to use the hose. All right. Somebody said, people talk about they couldn't drive. Somebody said, I drug a yard wagon with my equipment in it around my town for yard care when I couldn't drive. So, hey, I saw a kid about 2 or 3 years ago. I tried to film him, but he wasn't comfortable being on video. But he had a bicycle and he had some kind of rig attached to it that he was pulling his push mower and blower. And I thought, man, I was complimentary of him because he's out there trying. So. How much nitrogen do you put on Zoysia each season, and when do you put out your first nitrogen out? All right, so I heard some research on this. Forget I forget, maybe it was from Auburn. That's where we get a lot of our information from here in Alabama. But somebody was doing some research saying, and again, I've heard mixed reports, but that Zoysia does not respond much better when you get past 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So again, I've had people tell me I put 5 and 6 pounds of nitrogen on my Zoysia or a lot more. I don't know, but that according to this research, they were saying 2 pounds. Now, if you're putting 2 pounds of like a quick release fertilizer out, and what happens? Most of it's going to get wasted because the grass can't take it all in, and it's going to fade in color. So, what I try to do, I use this Harold's fertilizer. It's polymer coated. It's called Polyon, and I try to put out 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. And the idea is that that's going to feed it for 4 months. So if I put it out, me being the Birmingham market, I'm putting out a quick release fertilizer on those early, like April, and then come back late May or June and put out the slow release and going for that 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. All right. What would you say to someone if you knocked on their door? Can you give me a general rundown of what you'd say about mowing their lawn? All right, so let's role play here. I'm out knocking on doors on a Saturday. I hadn't done this in about 5 years, maybe, but when I did it, I hate doing it, but it does work. I still remember the last time I did it. I think I got 4 customers on the same neighborhood after being told no, and a lot of people not home. A lot of people just not going to answer. But anyway, I would just say, hey, you just knock on the door. And they answer. You say, "Hey, I'm Jason with Alabama Lawn Pros, and I'm here in the neighborhood. I already take care of some of your neighbors' lawns, and I just noticed your grass and just seeing if we could give you a quote for mowing your lawn, or in my case, spraying your lawn." So you're just simply asking if they would accept the quote. That's basically it. SureGuard is the name of the product. Thanks, James. That's the name of the product I'm using in the flower beds. I 2 weeks in a row, I could not think of that. So mixing SureGuard with glyphosate, and that way I just have to go over it one time. Okay, now you can't spray over top of the flowers or shrubs or anything, but instead of using the granular product and then having to come back and spray the existing weeds, now mix those SureGuard with glyphosate, spray it one time, and I'm done. Image can go over the top. All right, that's good to know. All right. All right, that's a good question. Steve says it's his second year in lawn care. What's the experience from the second year compared to the first as acquiring long-term customers? Well, I tell you, I've started like 3 lawn businesses, so I can share different stories. But second year is definitely, if you're just brand new at it, to me, second year, it's almost like we watch a lot of football and stuff. You talk about second year quarterback or what, it's like everything kind of slows down for him. He can see the field better. And I think it's similar in lawn care. It's like the first year you're a little bit nervous, trying not to mess up somebody's yard, and just learning equipment. And I've, even when I was spraying yards, learning how to spray yards, anything, I'm just literally out there spraying the yard. I mean, how hard can this be? But every year I kind of pick up new little techniques and tricks of how I do it and get faster and better. And I'm just a better technician than I used to be. So I think on that, you're going to become better and more efficient. But as far as customers go, I think the fact that you come back a second year is going to be good, because when you that first year, you're probably just not going to get a whole lot of referrals from existing customers. I mean, everybody you sign up is brand new, and they're just kind of trying you out that year. But every year that I have more established customers that then refer me to new customers. So I think you're gonna end up picking up more additional customers. Now the negative is, that first year you might get some family and friends that just want to support you and help you out. So you may not get those, but year 2 is usually better for me. Just all 3 times I've had my lawn business. All right. Same question earlier about the Northern Star skid sprayers. I addressed it earlier, but I'm not familiar with those. I've seen them, but I've never used one. I use Graham spray equipment. But if if that's what you can afford, I'm sure you use what you got. I just not familiar with that particular brand. All right. Thoughts on Target 6 MSMA in Central Alabama on Bermuda? It works great. Taking out crabgrass, Dallas grass, things like that, but it's just not legal on residential properties. All right. James, my friend James chimed in here on the difference in atrazine and cimazine. Cimazine is slower to work. Atrazine is more effective and faster as a post-emergent on older, cool season weeds in Centipede. Don't use either one in hot weather, generally speaking. So anyway, I know in the fall we put the Cimazine in there. We're hoping that if that POA has already germinated, maybe it can knock out the POA. The atrazine, the yard's got henbits, got clover, things like that, hoping the Cimazine can get that. So thanks, James, for clarifying on that. All right, I live in Tampa, Florida. Does Zoysia take longer to green up than St. Augustine? I'm just trying to think. I've got all those grasses in my area, and I feel like lately what I've been seeing is the centipede is probably the greenest right now. Then St. Augustine, then Zoysia, then Bermuda, as far as the order of how green they are. So yeah, I would say Zoysia is not as green as the St. Augustine, but my Zoysias are turning more green than the Bermuda. All right. All right, good. Thank you for clarifying on the MSDS. Need to have access to it on a phone, paper, laptop. It all works. So definitely need to be able to present that if you were to get checked. All right. Kentucky says they require paper and easily accessible, and you can have a copy on their computer so you can hand it. So it sounds like the theme here is it needs to be easily accessible, so you have them all downloaded on a file on your phone or on a computer or paper copies. Oh boy, somebody says, what should I do if I underbid a job? Man, this one guy's asked me about the Northern Star skid sprayers 3 times. All right, I'm not going to address it again. We've already talked about that. What should I do if I underbid a job? I'm going to make 0 on this job at this point. It's my first time something like this happened to me. So I'm not sure what kind of job you're talking about. This is something that you're going to be doing, for a long, big landscaping job that's going to take a lot of time and lots of money. I mean, but I don't know. You got to weigh here your reputation as a contractor versus the cost. So my initial thought is if you can suffer the loss and it's nothing huge and going to put you out of business, then I think you just kind of eat it and move forward and learn from it. But that's something you're probably gonna have to make that decision on your own. All right, Jason, do you use water soluble fert in your skid sprayer? Need info on how to melt down fert bags in my skid for liquid fert applications. I tell you what, I did that one time, I think, but it was in my tank sprayer, and I didn't like it. I'll just say it kind of clogged up stuff, and I'm just I'm sure there's a better way. Somebody has more experience with that, but my one experience was not a great one. My wife chimed in and says War Eagle. She's Auburn, I'm Alabama, so whatever. We beat them. We beat them in just about everything this year, so it's been a great year. All right, just started doing commercial weed and feed. I sell a program with a detailed description of when and why I'll be there. Why would a customer? Let's see. What would you do? I think is what they're saying. If a customer doesn't open an invoice or pay, do you call prior to apps? No, I don't. I don't call and notify the customer unless they particularly ask me to. I try to declare that at the beginning when I sign them up, like, hey, if you have a dog or you need to unlock a gate, then we can notify you. But I typically don't do that. And they say, oh, that's fine. You don't have to notify us. So I say, there will be a sign in your yard to let you know we treated your property today, and you'll get the email with the invoice attached to it at the end of the day. So Yeah, well, I think it's great to be able to explain to the customer what you're doing. You know, one way it was taught me as far as how detailed you want to be on your invoices. We in Alabama, we're not required to list out all the chemicals. I know some states are. Obviously, we keep records of those things if we were ever checked. I'm just saying on the actual invoice, we don't have to communicate that to the customer. And sometimes you want to be a little bit vague because you might get there and you need to do what that yard needs and not what you pre-typed out, what you thought it needed the morning when the invoice was created. You know, maybe so. You know, just something to think about. All right. A lady, I just talked to a lady today. She wanted bagging her yard on a huge yard. The price of the yard at $50, but added extra 10 for bagging. Is that a good bid? Well, you definitely need to charge more for bagging. When you say huge yard, I don't know, $50 for a huge yard in mine. What I'm thinking of huge, and $50 is probably not enough. Again, I don't know what your market is. I don't know your situation. $10 extra, so you basically went up 20% for the bagging. That sounds reasonable to me. But you know, I'm not seeing the yard to speak, but it sounds a little low in my opinion. Okay. I have a lawn mowing company right now. I have 55 accounts. I'm going to hire 2 guys and 2 truck setups going. I'm getting my pesticide license from Montana. What tips you have? Well, I mean, you know, it may be a situation where the pesticide applicator's license. I mean, that may take a little bit of expertise and a little bit more. If you feel comfortable with the guys mowing, then maybe you take over the weed control side of the business until you or try to hire somebody experienced. But you know, so that may be one way. If I was in your situation and had the established crew, then I would just try to have a designated truck for the weed control and just sort of have that as separate and try not to overlap them. Now, of course, you want to provide both services on a given property, but I'm not trying to run them out of the same truck and just try to grow, make sure there's a market for it and try to grow that as a separate side to your business. All right, man. 4th time on the Northern Skid Sprayer. The guy is relentless. What would you suggest to put on a lawn that looks to be mostly weeds? Not sure there's much grass there. Well, and we've got 3 minutes. We're wrapping it up. So just letting y'all know, if you got one last question, go ahead. I'll talk faster. I'm from the South, so we don't talk real fast. But you got to make sure there's actual grass there. I made that mistake one time where I went in there and sprayed the weeds. I mean, there was very little grass because, you know, we deal with Bermuda grass. If there's just a little bit, it'll usually spread. I'm actually working on my neighbor's yard, and there's a little bit of Bermuda grass, and I killed the weed. I said, listen, just trust me. It's going to spread. But I did one year where there was almost no Bermuda, and you just don't want to leave it solid dirt. So make sure there's some grass there. Understand what type of grass that is. Again, if it's a cool season grass and you can seed it, you know, to make more grow, great. If it's warm season grass, if it's Bermuda, you know, a little bit there, it'll spread. If it's Zoysia, it'll take forever to spread. So just understand what you're dealing with before you go in there and just blast all the weeds. All right, one guy said you can't get any clients, so that's not good. Love the videos. I appreciate you watching those. All right, if I already put a pre-emergent down and I dethatch a month later, did I break the barrier? Should I put more pre-emergent? I'm not 100% sure on that. I would probably just go with, I probably would not go put more pre-emergent down, but I don't know the scientific answer to that. Obviously, I would think if you go in there with a tiller and just till your yard up, you know, then that's going to break the barrier more. I'm not sure about just dethatching. Does existing Dallas grass come back after putting down pre-emergent, or does pre-emergent prevent that? Dallas grass is a perennial, or, you know, crabgrass is an annual, so your pre-emergent is not going to help you at all on your Dallas grass. Thanks for the info. Appreciate you guys watching how you winterize your spray rig. There's videos on there, gram spray equipment. Just go to YouTube, gram spray equipment, winterize your rig. Do you have to turn in an annual report? Let's see. All right, one more here. I'm sorry, something about an annual report. I don't know. I missed that one. All right, I'll take this one here. On the 1,000 square foot lawns, mostly Bermuda, that you need to reseed, would you recommend MS, methylfuron and drive accelerate till new is established or something else? On 30,000 square foot yards, mostly Bermuda, that you need to reseed. I mean, if it's Bermuda, then I wouldn't worry about reseeding and just let the Bermuda spread on its own. Go in there. Like if I got a nasty yard and it's in the winter, nasty Bermuda yard and it's totally dormant, I'll spray it with glyphosate at 32 ounces per acre and maybe put a 1/4 ounce of methylfuron in there, try to wipe everything out, and then let that Bermuda take over. And I'll put prodiamine in there to keep the crabgrass out. So anyway, appreciate you guys watching. It's 9 o'clock, so we're closing up, and we're going to do this next week with a guest. We're going to go more topical. Next week, we're planning to talk about fertilizer. Okay, so bring your questions, and we're going to be, before you turn around, it's going to be time to start fertilizing your lawn. So bring questions for specific grass types, times of the year, things like that. And we'll have a guest to join us. And a week after that, got another special guest. If you're in the weed control or want to join our live training that starts on this Wednesday, then go to lawncarelife.com. There's a lot of training materials over there, and you sign up at that. Anyway, appreciate you watching. For those who are going to watch later, encourage you to hit the like button, subscribe if you hadn't done so, and we will continue with the live trainings, hopefully on Monday nights, and continue with more videos. I got a lot of them in the works on the YouTube channel. Talk to you guys later. Bye.